Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of The Catholic Show. And today we're going to talk about relativism, but also about the idea of truth. And I'm going to point you in the direction of one of the most famous philosophers of all time, Aristotle. And my hope is that by the end of this short kind of dialogue conversation that we have, that you won't be afraid to go out and read Aristotle. A lot of people look at Plato, they look at Aristotle, they look at these great minds of the past, and they're intimidated by it, and they don't go out and actually read the text. But today, we're going to read just a few lines from Aristotle's Ethics, his Nicomachean Ethics, and we're going to just think about what he's saying, and we're going to try to arrive at truth. And so, without further ado, without wasting your time, let's just dive right into it. So, yesterday we talked a little bit about how Pope Benedict the 16th had a homily that said that there was a dictatorship of relativism that has been created by our modern world, that people are uncomfortable and unwilling to accept the idea that there's objective truth that you can't argue with, truth that is universal, truth that binds us all to reality. If we're all living in the same reality, then truth, what is the same for everybody. And so when we think about the world we live in, there's a lot of people today that would argue with that. And they'd say, well, your truth is different than my truth and their truth, and all these misconceptions about truth. If something is true, it is always true. It is not only true sometimes. Right? By definition, that is truth. And when you have relativism, what that is people just being interpreting in truth relative to their own ego, to their own emotions, to whatever it might be. So how does this play out in real life? Well, we talked a little bit about it, but some people might say things like, happiness is whatever you want to do. Some people might say, there is no definition of love. There is no, God might exist. This is one I hear a lot. God might exist for you, but I don't believe God exists. It's like those two things, they can't exist with each other. It's impossible for God both to exist and not exist. Right? That's not possible. But we hear this a lot today. We hear this in so many different ways in the world today. And so we talked about relativism. We talked about Pope Benedict the 16th and his homily about relativism. We talked about how we need to grow up in our faith. And today I'm going to ask you, this is a lead-in to the ethics, but I'm going to ask you to just take some time and think. Not just react, but to actually just take a deep breath and to think. Because philosophy is the love of wisdom. It's the ability to not read from a textbook or go by someone else's authority, but it's the ability of us all, bound by the same reality, to discover what is. And so we're reading Aristotle not because he was some great thinker, great mind, even though he was. We're reading Aristotle because what he has to say is true. Right? Or most of the things that he has to say are true. They stand up to criticism. They stand the test of time. And so we can look at this, we can wrestle with it, and if you disagree, then disagree, but have reasons why you disagree. And if you agree with it, well, good, have reasons for why you agree with it. But today I just want you to think about this passage I'm going to read. It's the very first sentence in Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics. And I just want you to think, hey, do I disagree with this? Or, hey, I agree with this. All right? But have reasons. Have reasons. So this is a book. This is the Ethics by Aristotle. The good thing about these ancients, let me put this in front of the camera. There you go. I got it from Half Price Books. And the good thing about these old books, these old writers, these old thinkers, these old texts, is that you can usually get them on discount for only a few dollars, or you can find them for free online because they're in the public domain. So Aristotle's Ethics is online. You can find it all over the place online. And this translation that I'm reading is from the Focus Philosophical Library. The translation is by Joe Sachs. And I like it. I mean, this is I have 2 copies of the Ethics, of Nicomachean Ethics. And I like this one. It has some good footnotes. So I'll try to leave a link wherever I can so that you can find this, but it's by Joe Sachs. So page number 1, and we're just going to read the first sentence and talk about it. So here's the first sentence. It says, every art and every inquiry, and likewise every action and choice, seems to aim at some good. And hence it has been beautifully said that the good is that at which all things aim. So I just want you to think about that. I'm going to read that again, but think about what Aristotle's saying here and think if you agree with it or disagree with it. Every art and every inquiry, and likewise every action and choice, seems to aim at some good. And hence it has been beautifully said that the good is that at which all things aim. The good is that at which all things aim. Is that true? Is that true? A relativist would say that, oh, well, that might be true for you, but it's not true for me, or it might be true for you, but it's not true for them. But think about trying to escape this argument that Aristotle will go on to lay out, but think about trying to escape that sentence. The good is that at which all things aim. Whatever you're doing today, why are you doing it? You're doing it because you think that it will lead you to some good. So if you're driving to work, you think that the good with which you will recover from your work today will be maybe a paycheck, maybe it'll be relationships, maybe it'll be some sort of profit. That's why you engage in work. And then why do you engage in those things when you want a profit or you want a paycheck or you want those relationships? Well, it's because they bring about some other good. And so why do you want that good? Well, maybe you want to, say, let's just take the example of you're going to work today. So you go to work to get a paycheck. Okay. And then you use that paycheck to support your family. And that's wonderful, right? And then, well, why do you support your family? Well, it's because, it brings you some sort of fulfillment. It brings you some sort of joy. That it helps somebody else, right? If you're raising kids, there's that element of passing down tradition or impressing on them good values and morals and ethics. And there's all these different reasons why you do things, but each one of them is something that you perceive as being good. Whether or not it's good is a different subject. And we're just talking about the inescapable argument that Aristotle lays out at the beginning of his Ethics that say that the good is that at which all things aim. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say that everything you do today is going to be aimed at achieving some good. And that is remarkable. That binds us in reality. We are now bound to that. I would say even someone who goes out and does something that they know is evil would think that in that evil act, some good, probably for themselves, would come of it. Let's say someone robs a bank. Well, they'd rob a bank knowing that it's a bad thing to do, but thinking about, well, maybe they're going to be able to rob the bank so that they could then feed their family. Now, I'm not justifying robbing a bank, and I'm not justifying doing evil things. The means do not justify the ends. However, I am saying that Aristotle is correct. And I want you to try to argue with that. And in the next episode of The Catholic Show, we will talk a little bit about some of the consequences of this maybe. But just think about that. The good is that at which all things aim. Spoiler alert, the ultimate good, being God, is that at which we aim as creatures of the Creator. Hope you have a wonderful day today. Hope you have a productive day today. Hope you're aiming your life at some good. And I will see you next time on The Catholic Show. Take care.